Right, question 1. Correct answer was 28.77. It was well done by most people. So most people know that the way, if you didn't do it, this is what you need. If you didn't get it correct, this is what you need to do. You put 1 in the margin, and we're going to do the correction. So I've got 74.26, and I'm going to take away 45.49. The important point is to get that all lined up correctly. Now you guys did do this pretty well. So unfortunately I can't actually do 6 take away 9, so I'm going to have to do the renaming or borrowing or whatever you might want to call it. So 16 take away 9 gives me 7, 11 take away 4 gives me 7, here's the decimal point, 13 take away 5 gives me 8, and 6 take away 4 gives me 2, 28.77. Question 2. I'm going to put it here, the correction for question 2. So question 2, 160, 36, 30 and 90 are my options. The question is calculate 3/4 of 120. So here's how it works, guys. If I want 3/4 of 120, the first thing I'm going to do is find 1/4. So 1/4 of 120 is the same as 120 divided by 4, which is 30. So 1/4 of 120 is 30. Now I want 3/4. So therefore, this is a symbol which means therefore, and it saves me writing out that word. Therefore, 3/4 of 120 is 3 lots of the 1/4 of 120. So it's 3 times by 30, which is 90. And there's my answer. So some people have suggested, the method that we need to use, which is divide by the bottom times by the top. The reason why that works is because of this. To find 1/3, I would need to divide by 3. I then need to go to 2/3, so I'm going to times by 2 afterwards. So what I would do is say 1/3 is 18 divided by 3, which is 6. So therefore, 2/3 is just 2 lots of that. 2 times by 6, which is 12. And for the extension question, it's exactly the same method, just the numbers are a little bit trickier. Okay, so just slightly more complicated numbers, but the same idea. To find 1/9 of a number, so 1/9 of 108, I need to take that 108 and divide it by 9. So you need your times tables knowledge. 108 divided by 9 is 12. So then I'm going to multiply that up by the top number because I need to get to 5/9. So therefore 5/9 of 108 is going to be 12 times by 5, which is going to be 60. Right, the answer for what is the radius is C. There is nothing really to do in terms of improvement or extension here. All it is you just have to learn the names of the parts of the circle. That is something just like your French vocabulary or whatever that you just need to learn. Okay, and radius is from the middle of the circle to the circumference in a straight line. Next one, question 4, A, B, C. So there's no improvements for that, guys. It's just noticing which one's the correct one. Question 4, ABCD is a rhombus. Now, a rhombus has sides the same length. And this one here, it actually doesn't look correct. It looks like a parallelogram. It's not drawn accurately. I think you'll be able to see which ones are perpendicular when I draw a slightly more accurate rhombus. So if I draw a rhombus now here, and remember guys, these shapes can be at any angle, so I'm going to draw one like this. So here's a rhombus here. And so what makes it a rhombus is that all the sides you could see are the same length, but they're not right angles, so that's why it's different from a square or a tilted square. It's not the same thing. All the side lengths are different. Now, perpendicular, we need to know what that key word means. So perpendicular, this would be part of your correction. Okay, perpendicular means at right angles. So it's not parallel. So it means it's at right angles. So for example, this line and this line, those lines are perpendicular. There's a right angle there. Now, I need to see, if I label this up with like A, B, C, D, in the same sort of way as this one was labeled, which of these lines are at right angles? So A, B, and B, C, that's these two. They're not at right angles. A, B, and DC, A, B, and DC, those two are parallel, but they're not at right angles. AC and DB, so that's across the shape. And if we have a look across this shape, AC and BD, okay, we can see that it does cross at right angles. So that's why that one is the correct thing. So the main thing we need to write down here is that this meaning of the word perpendicular, it means at right angles, and a little drawing of that, that's your correction. Question 5. We've got a substitution here, and it involves negatives, which makes it tricky. If D equals minus 2, what is the value of 10 take away 2D? So this is what I'm going to do whenever I do a substitution. So this is the corrections. The answer here, guys, was 14. Circle that in green pen. Now, there will be some people who just got that by guessing. And if that's you, you still need to do this correction because you don't really understand it. Only don't need to do the correction if you fully understand why. Okay, so this is question 5. We're going to put question 5 here. And what I'm doing here is I'm taking this D equals minus 2 and I'm substituting it into the expression here. So what I have is 10 equals 2, and what I'm going to do, this D, wherever that D is, I'm going to substitute in the value of D, which is minus 2. Okay, so, sorry, it's 10, sorry, apologies for that, it's 10 minus 2 times by minus 2, not equals. 10 minus 2 times minus 2, what does that equal? So, I need to do 2 times minus 2 here, so this is where you need to know about your multiplication with negatives. 2 times minus 2 is minus 4. So what I've got here is 10 take away minus 4. Then you have to know that if you've got two minus signs there next to each other, that's going to turn into an addition. So instead of having 2 take away minus 4 is the same as 2 plus 4, which is 14. Sorry, 10 take away minus 4 is the same as 10 plus 4, which is 14. Right, modelled example to help. This is still for question 5. All right, so if, let's say, A equals minus 3, what is (16) take away 4A? Okay. So, what I need to do, what we're saying is this number, the letter here represents a number, and we know what the number is, it's minus 3. So wherever I have A here, I'm going to substitute in, I'm going to put in minus 3. So this is going to be 16 take away 4 times by minus 3. So the number which I'm putting in, I'll put in as in brackets. And just wherever I had A, I've now got minus 3. Okay, because minus 3 is the value of A. We've been told that minus 3 is the value of A. So now, if I have two things next to each other, they are multiplied together. So I need my multiplication with negatives. So 4 times minus 3 is minus 12. So I've got 16 take away minus 12. And the last part of this is those are both minuses next to each other. So that turns into an addition. So I've got 16 plus 12, which is 28. So if you didn't get this and you weren't sure about the improvement question, please note that you're doing this with my help, okay? And let's go through it carefully. Any questions you're not sure about any step that I'm taking, put your hand up. I'll pause the video. We can go through it. Right. X is minus 4. So what I told you guys to do is to rewrite this exact thing here, but where there's an X, I'm now going to put in minus 4. Now I put it in brackets to show that it's not 2 take away 4 here. If things are next to each other in algebra, we multiply them. So this means it's 2 times by minus 4. I can just show that like that. If you want to, you can show that like that. If things are next to each other, they're times together. So what I've got here is 26 take away 2 times minus 4. Well, 2 times minus 4 is minus 8. So what I have is 26 take away minus 8. If you're taking away minus 8, that's the same thing as adding. So that's the same thing as 26 plus 8, which will give me 34. 6. Order the temperatures from coldest to warmest. So the coldest, so this one was done pretty well, so I'm not going to go through it in much detail. The coldest one here is actually 4 degrees. That's the lowest. Okay, that's the first one. Then the next one is 2 degrees. Then the next one is going to be 40 degrees. And the last one, the warmest one, is 200 degrees. So you just need to check what order that is. That's A, C, B, D. A, C, B, D is this one. Moving on to question 7. Question 7. Which is the correct description of the transformation that maps A onto B? So basically, your transformations here, guys, are reflections, rotations, translations, and enlargements. This one's a reflection. So these are all stated as reflections. So I know it's going to be a reflection. And I just need to work out where would the line of symmetry go here. Well, and you can draw on your paper for this one rather than on the piece of paper that you're using for your corrections. But it's going to be halfway in between. Now you should spot that halfway in between is just down here. That's halfway in between. So I need the equation of that line. And the equation of lines which are vertical are always x equals something. So this is x equals 1. And we're going to go straight on to question 8. Okay. Okay, I've got the area of this shape that I need to calculate. There's a few things I need to do to be able to do that. The first is I've got some sides, but I'm missing some side lengths here, which I need to work out. So this whole side length is 12. This bit here is 6, so that's part of the way. Now, just remember that these are not drawn to scale. By that I mean they're not drawn accurately. So if that whole bit there is 12, and that bit is 6, then this bit up here must also be 6, because these two together need to add up to this one. So that one has to be 6. And this one here, if that side length's 8 and that bit's 5, well, this bit must be 3 to make that up to the whole, to make that up to that 8 there. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to split this into 2 rectangles, because you can't work out the area of a shape like that. You need to work out the area of rectangles. Right, I've got 6 millimeters there, 3 millimeters there. I need to calculate the area of all of this. So I've got one rectangle there, I've got another rectangle here. I'm going to calculate the area of each. So the area of that rectangle there is 6 times 3. To calculate the area of a rectangle, we just do length times width. So that area is 18 millimeters squared. This one here, well, the length is 12, the width there is 5, so that's 12 times by 5, which is 60 millimeters squared. And if I add those two together, 18 plus 60, that gives me 78 millimeters squared, which is this one.